I've fairly recently completed the United Colonies storyline, and I've already completed the main story of Starfield, so I've got some comments on the storytelling. Hey there, Explorer, I am Doodleman149 again, and today I'll be taking a look at the storytelling mechanics and a couple of Starfield storylines and analyzing them. I'll go over why this approach to storytelling fails, and why it succeeds for different reasons. Confusing, I know, but let's hop into this. Strangely enough, I'd like to start out with the negatives I see from Bethesda's latest RPG. Out of all the Bethesda RPGs that I've played, being Fallout 3, New Vegas, Fallout 4, and Skyrim, Starfield has the weakest main story out of all of them. Now, before you jump on your keyboard to lambast me with angry or approving comments, hear me out. Oh yeah, spoiler warning, you have 5 seconds. Alright, the multiverse angle of Starfield's story is interesting to a degree. In a vacuum, it's a good twist when you find out the Hunter and Emissary's true identities, the latter of which changes depending on who dies during the main story. However, we're living in a bad time for this. Multiverses are everywhere. They are stale, they are almost predictable, and they rarely add anything to the story. In the case of Starfield, however, the multiverse does add something to the story, it's not just tacked on. However, multiverses have one inherent flaw. They make the stakes non-existent. Why should we care about a certain character or be scared when they're in danger if there's just alternate versions of themselves that essentially allow the character to be resurrected? Sure, we may lose the sentient being that we've come to know, but the process can usually be repeated. There are some stories that do the multiverse well, such as BioShock Infinite, a game way ahead of the curve when it came to the multiverse angle. However, in Starfield, I feel it drags things down to a degree. There are many quests and quest lines, characters and character arcs to get through, so many enemies to face, weapons and gear to collect, outposts to build, companions to recruit, and at the end of the day, if you go through the Unity at the end of the main story, all of that gets wiped away. You get to keep your skills, but that is all. Imagine it's like starting a new game over. You beat New Vegas after the grind to max level, you get all your favorite gear, you kick Kaiser back across the Colorado, and then before you even have time to process your digital achievement, you start a brand new game and wipe your previous save. That is basically Starfield's endgame. Now, while it is true you do not have to pursue the main storyline, typically players will want to complete the main story. It's supposed to be the main narrative thread that ties all the side quests and characters together. However, it becomes a problem when that main storyline that you're destined to play through is also designed to wipe away all the progress you've made on the way there. It's a contradictory story design. Now let's look at the side quests. I've griped about the main story enough as it is. The problem with the side stories has nothing to do with the Unity in the New Game Plus system. Instead, its greatest flaw is lack of impact. Although, now I think about it, that's also the problem with the main story. None of your decisions have lasting impact when you reset the universe. Regardless, getting back to the side stories, let me give you some examples of story decisions that have no impact. Not even no lasting impact, there is very little immediate impact as well. In Delivering Devils, one of the earlier main quests of the United Colonies questline, you have the choice to pay off Dr. Percival Walker's debt to the Trade Authority on Cydonia. You can do this by either A, paying it in full, B, artificially lowering the debt amount and paying that, or C, developing a new stimulant to help miners work for longer periods of time and offering the information about that drug to the Trade Authority. Now looking at these choices, what can we foresee as the results? For option A, there would be very little impact, nothing major has changed and it's very straightforward. For option B, there is the possibility of minor impact. Say the Trade Authority hires mercenaries to come after you once they find out that Percival's debt was artificially lowered. They may want the extra credits or revenge. In option C, there's the possibility that the Cydonian miners would get addicted to the new drug and that increases their efficiency, but the Trade Authority would then have full control over that drug, meaning they would make a killing off of their addicted miners. Probably the worst choice in terms of potential consequences. So which one of these do you think is accurate? Well, unfortunately, it is the first one, regardless of what option you pick. You can pay the debt in full, reduce the debt and have a Red Devil pay for it, or sell them drug blueprints in exchange for the debt and the end result is exactly the same. While the story beats themselves may have some impact depending on what you're doing, the choices you make do not. Another example of this is in the Red Tape Runaround quest where you discover the Martian governor is corrupt and get proof of his shady dealings. You can choose to blackmail him, sell him the incriminating information, or turn him in, and the only real change is that if you turn him in, he disappears and the head of security becomes the interim governor. It has zero impact on the quest you're undertaking and has basically no effect on the city whatsoever. There are numerous examples of this that it would be too tedious to mention all of them. In previous Bethesda titles, for the most part, your choices mattered. Blowing up Megaton or not, choosing whether or not to add the modified FEV virus to Project Purity, siding with Good Springs or the Powder Gangers, siding with the war with Mr. House, going Imperial or Stormcloak. Those all had impacts on the settings because of your direct interaction. Your actions in Starfield are just much less visibly impactful. This is made all the more noticeable when there are so many of the NPCs in the game are coded as essential and thus cannot be prematurely terminated. While this leaves as many quests open to the player as possible, it also further limits our impact in the universe. Now we get to the controversial part of the video. Why all the things I just mentioned, all the failings of the storytelling, are genius. You'll have to follow me closely here as it gets a bit convoluted. The fact that the entirety of the universe essentially doesn't matter to the player makes it so that the story itself is very player-driven. The overarching story isn't about collecting the artifacts and entering the Unity multiple times. No, the story is about your character. It's about how your character chooses to interact with the world and the type of person you mold them into. In each new universe, you are free to play as you wish, explore all avenues of every questline, and see the many possibilities that may result from your actions. The entirety of Starfield's story is your story. There are still some elements that this line of thinking cannot forgive, such as quests having no impact. However, this brings the focus even more heavily onto the game being player-centric. You are making choices for yourself. You aren't exactly working towards some permanent goal for the game world. You are working towards building your own story, expanding your skills, learning the most effective tactics to reach your goals, seeing all there is to see, and most importantly, playing your way. Deciding how you want to play Starfield will largely impact your enjoyment of it. Are you someone who wants to explore every world, take numerous pictures, and see all there is to see? While you'll run into reused assets, you can certainly do just that. Do you want to be a paragon of justice or the scourge of the galaxy? Every option is there for you to explore and play exactly as you wish to. Unless of course you're looking for a No Man's Sky replacement, in which case I recommend you just go play No Man's Sky. Every story is essentially your story, regardless of who else is involved. Going back to my previous examples, sure, it would be nice to know what happens after Governor Hurst is removed from office, but those politics largely don't concern you. That's not something you'd ever need to worry about, and as such, you simply don't. So, with everything I've mentioned, the good and the bad, is Starfield's storytelling any good? In general, are the stories of high quality and are they executed well? Well, not really, but let me explain. Again, I know you're tired of hearing that, but we're nearing the end of the video, I promise. The story beats themselves are rather interesting to me. The UC knowing about the Terramorph origins and the scheme to have them dealt with is interesting, as is the multiverse reveal. However, given the notable lack of impact these quests have on the universe as a whole, and how little impact your individual choices in these quests make, these stories are dragged down. Yes, I did mention that this allows the game to revolve entirely around you. However, these are not mutually exclusive. The focus on your character and not the universe as a whole can still be achieved even if your choices have more notable impact on things. It may be cliched, but if you look at New Vegas, that has a perfect balance. You can play as who you want to, do what you want to, and make your own personal choices, but those choices also have a notable impact on the world around you, and there are even multiple endings based on your choices throughout the story. I never expected Starfield to live up to New Vegas, but its storytelling, while interesting and unique, does leave something to be desired, at least for now. Who knows, maybe the Shattered Space expansion will shake things up, but that's unknowable at this point. So that is all today, explorers. I feel I've given the Starfield storytelling a proper look and a fair evaluation. The story beats themselves are interesting and fun to learn about, but the execution could have been better. Quests should have your choices within them have greater impact. You are largely an outside viewer watching the quests unfold despite directly taking part in them. However, the looser approach to a proper story allows for deeper diving into making your own player-driven story. Starfield offers you a myriad of ways to make your own fun in it regardless of what you want to do. However, a game should also always have some inherent fun within it delivered in a very high quality way. I enjoy the stories, I adore the game, I haven't regretted playing it at all. But, that being said, I am not blind to some of its shortcomings. Hope this opinion doesn't rustle anyone's jimmies, but honestly, no one is here listening to this anyway, so that's hard to do that. If you are here, however, on the very off chance, include the word grizzly bear in the comments below just so I know. I hope you're all enjoying the game so far, and I hope it's everything you wanted it to be. So with that, be sure to keep an eye out for my future Starfield content and like and subscribe for more. I've been your guide, Doodleman149, and I'll see you again, sometime, somewhere, amongst the stars.